The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Zarkonian fleet. What was once a source of wonder and exploration had become a prison. Admiral Xenthor stood on the bridge of the flagship, his four eyes blinking rapidly as he processed the dire situation. "Status report," he demanded, his voice echoing through the silent command center. First Officer Velnar approached, her tentacles twitching nervously. "Admiral, our situation is critical. Fuel reserves are down to 12%. Life support systems are failing on our outer ring ships. We've lost contact with 3 scout vessels in the last solar cycle." Xenthor's exoskeleton grew tighter, a sign of extreme stress in his species. The once mighty Zarkonian armada, pride of their empire, was now adrift in an unknown sector of the galaxy. Their routine patrol had turned into a nightmare when they encountered an unexplained spatial anomaly. In the blink of an eye, they were thrown millions of light years from their home world. "Any response to our distress signals?" Xenthor asked, already knowing the answer. Velnar shook her head, her bioluminescent spots dimming. "None, Admiral. We've been broadcasting on all frequencies for the equivalent of 30 Earth days. No advanced civilizations have responded." The mention of Earth caught Xenthor's attention. It was a primitive planet they had discovered in their long-range scans. The inhabitants were barely venturing beyond their own moon. Surely they couldn't be of any help. As if reading his thoughts, the ship's AI, Zar-1, chimed in. "Admiral, I've completed an analysis of nearby star systems. The planet designated as Earth is the only one showing signs of intelligent life within our remaining travel range." Xenthor chittered in frustration. "They're hardly out of their Stone Age, Zar-1. What possible help could they offer?" "Unknown, Admiral," the AI responded. "However, their communication technologies are advancing rapidly. There's a 68% probability they could at least receive our distress signal." The Admiral paced the bridge, his clawed feet clicking against the metallic floor. The situation was beyond desperate. Half of their fleet's 1 million souls were already on reduced rations. The outer ships reported increasing cases of void sickness, a psychological disorder caused by prolonged exposure to deep space. "Velnar, assemble the council," Xenthor decided. "We need to discuss our options." Within moments, holographic projections of the fleet's top leaders flickered to life around the bridge. Faces etched with worry and fatigue looked to Xenthor for guidance. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, "our situation has become untenable. We've exhausted all attempts to contact advanced civilizations. We're left with only one option: seeking help from a primitive world." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the projections. General Kraz, head of the military division, spoke up. "Admiral, surely you jest. These Earthlings, they're barely spacefaring. How could they possibly assist us?" Xenthor raised a hand for silence. "I understand your concerns, but we're out of options. Either we try to contact Earth, or we drift in space until our resources are depleted." Chief Scientist Lorianne, her crystalline form shimmering, interjected. "There might be an advantage to their primitive state. More advanced races have ignored our pleas, perhaps fearing some trick or trap. These Earthlings, in their naivety, might be more willing to assist." The debate raged on for hours. Some argued for continuing their search for a more advanced civilization. Others suggested attempting to repair their faster-than-light drives, despite the risk of catastrophic failure. In the end, the decision fell to Xenthor. As the holographic projections faded away, he turned to Velnar and Zar-1. "Prepare a message for Earth. Keep it simple. Make it clear that we come in peace and desperately need their help." As his officers scrambled to obey, Xenthor gazed out at the star-filled void. He thought of the million lives depending on his decision. He thought of their home world, now so impossibly far away. And he thought of Earth, a tiny blue marble that unknowingly held the fate of the Zarkonian people in its hands. "May the cosmic currents favor us," he whispered, using an old Zarkonian prayer. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Xenfor felt the cold grip of fear. Everything now depended on the response of a young, untested species. Would the humans rise to the challenge? Or would the once mighty Zarkonian fleet become nothing more than a footnote in the vast history of the galaxy? Only time would tell. And time, like their other resources, was quickly running out. Dr. Sarah Chen stifled a yawn as she stared at the computer screen in front of her. Another late night at SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute. Most of her colleagues had gone home hours ago, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that tonight was different. As she sipped her cold coffee, a strange pattern caught her eye. She leaned closer, her heart beginning to race. The signal was unlike anything she'd seen before. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the data through various filters. But no matter what she did, the pattern remained. It was structured, complex, and definitely not natural. With trembling hands, she reached for her phone. "Director Harris, you need to see this. Now." Within an hour, the quiet SETI facility had turned into a hive of activity. Scientists huddled around screens, arguing in excited whispers. Government officials arrived in black SUVs, their faces grim. Director Harris stood at the center of it all, his usually calm demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "we are witnessing history. This is a clear, unambiguous message from an alien civilization." The room erupted in cheers, but Sarah noticed the government agents exchanging worried glances. One of them, a stern-looking woman in a crisp suit, stepped forward. "I'm Agent Rodriguez, National Security Council. What exactly does the message say?" Sarah cleared her throat. "We're still decoding it, but the basic structure is clear. It's a distress call." A hush fell over the room. Director Harris nodded for Sarah to continue. "From what we can tell, there's a fleet of alien ships stranded in our solar system. They've run out of fuel and supplies. They're asking for our help." Agent Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up. "Our help? Are you sure about that, Dr. Chen?" Sarah nodded. "The message is being broadcast on multiple frequencies, using mathematical constants as a base. It's designed to be understood by any civilization capable of detecting it. They're desperate." The next few hours were a blur of activity. As dawn broke, Sarah found herself in a secure video conference with the President of the United States and his top advisors. "Dr. Chen," the President said, his face filling the main screen, "you're telling me that an advanced alien civilization is asking us, humanity, for help?" Sarah nodded. "Yes, Mr. President. Their message indicates they've tried contacting other, more advanced races without success. We're their last hope." The Secretary of Defense leaned forward. "This could be a trick, a prelude to invasion." "With all due respect," Sarah countered, "if they wanted to invade, why create such an elaborate ruse? Their technology is clearly far beyond ours. They could simply take what they want." The President rubbed his temples. "What exactly are they asking for?" "Fuel, primarily," Sarah explained, "and raw materials to repair their ships. They're also running low on food and water, though their needs might be different from ours." A heated debate broke out among the advisors. Some argued for caution, others for seizing this unprecedented opportunity. The President listened silently, his expression unreadable. Finally, he held up a hand for silence. "Dr. Chen, in your professional opinion, what should we do?" Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the cosmos. "Mr. President, I believe we should help them." She continued before anyone could interrupt. "This is our chance to prove ourselves as a species, to show that humanity can be a force for good in the universe. Yes, there are risks, but the potential benefits, the knowledge we could gain, the alliances we could form, are immeasurable." The President nodded slowly. "And if we refuse, if we ignore their plea, then we'll have to live with that decision," Sarah said softly. "We'll have to tell our children and grandchildren that when the universe called, we turned our backs." A long silence followed. The president's eyes met Sarah's through the screen, and she saw something there, determination, mixed with a hint of fear. "Very well," he said at last. "We'll help them. Dr. Chen, I'm placing you in charge of the scientific aspects of this mission. Agent Rodriguez will handle security. I'll address the nation tonight." As the call ended, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Humanity was about to take its first real step into the galactic community, and she, Sarah Chen, would be leading the way. Outside her window, the first rays of sunlight peeked over the horizon. It was a new dawn, in more ways than one. The world as they knew it had changed forever, and the greatest adventure in human history was about to begin. The world held its breath as President Michael stepped up to the podium. Billions of eyes were glued to screens, waiting to hear the news that would change everything. "My fellow citizens of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "Today, we face the greatest challenge and opportunity in human history. We have received a message from the stars. An alien civilization has reached out to us, not in aggression, but in desperate need of our help." A collective gasp seemed to echo around the globe. In living rooms, bars, and public squares, people turned to each other in disbelief. The president continued, explaining the situation and humanity's decision to assist. As he spoke, the wheels of a massive global effort were already turning. At NASA headquarters, Commander Jake Martinez paced nervously. As the most experienced astronaut still on active duty, he had been chosen to lead the rescue mission. His team gathered around him, a mix of seasoned space veterans and brilliant young engineers. "All right, people," Jake said, his voice cutting through the excited chatter. "We've got the impossible task of retrofitting our ships for deep space travel in record time. The aliens are sending us their tech specs. It's our job to understand them and adapt our systems accordingly." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's xenobiologist, raised her hand. "Commander, what about the alien biology? We need to ensure our life support systems can handle their needs." Jake nodded. "Good point, Dr. Tanaka. You'll work closely with Dr. Chen from HFY on that. We need to be prepared for anything." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The fate of an entire alien civilization and humanity's first impression on the galactic stage rested in their hands. Across the globe, a similar scene played out in every major space agency. The Chinese Space Agency worked tirelessly on adapting their Long March rockets. The European Space Agency focused on developing new fuel systems based on the alien specifications. Even private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin threw their resources into the effort. In Russia, cosmonaut Anatoly Kuznetsov led a team in modifying their Soyuz capsules. "We may have our differences," he told a reporter, "but today we are all citizens of Earth." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Scientists worked around the clock, fueled by caffeine and the thrill of discovery. Engineers performed miracles, adapting human technology to interface with alien systems they barely understood. At the United Nations, heated debates gave way to unprecedented cooperation. Countries that had been enemies for generations now worked side by side, pooling resources and knowledge. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself at the heart of it all, coordinating the scientific efforts and serving as the primary liaison with the alien fleet. Through a series of complex mathematical exchanges, she began to learn more about the Zarkonians and their plight. "They're not so different from us," she told Commander Martinez during a rare quiet moment. "They have families, hopes, dreams. They're just trying to survive and get back home." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "Let's make sure we give them that chance." As the launch date approached, a mix of excitement and fear gripped the planet. Doomsday preppers stocked up on supplies, believing this was the beginning of the end. Others celebrated in the streets, seeing this as the dawn of a new age. In orbit, the International Space Station was a hive of activity. It had been chosen as the staging area for the rescue mission. now expanded and reinforced to handle the increased traffic. Commander Martinez looked out the station's cupola at the Earth below. From up here, there were no borders, no divisions. Just one beautiful blue marble hanging in the void. A beep from his communicator broke the moment of reflection. "Commander," came Dr. Chen's voice. "The final systems check is complete. We're ready to begin boarding procedures." Jake took a deep breath. This was it. The moment humanity would take its first real step into the cosmic ocean. "Understood, Doctor," he replied. "Let's go make history." As the crews began to board their ships, news cameras broadcast the images around the world. Humanity watched, hearts pounding, as their bravest prepared to venture forth into the unknown. The rescue mission was about to begin. And with it, the future of two civilizations hung in the balance. The countdown echoed through mission control, each number bringing humanity closer to its greatest adventure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. A roar filled the air as the massive rockets ignited, pushing against Earth's gravity with tremendous force. Around the world, people watched in awe as humanity's first interstellar rescue mission blasted off into the sky. Commander Jake Martinez felt the familiar push of acceleration as his ship, the HSS Hope, led the fleet of 5 vessels. Each ship carried a specialized team and cargo, ready to face the unknown. "Status report," Jake called out, his voice steady despite the shaking of the ship. "All systems nominal, Commander," replied his second-in-command, Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez. "We're on course for the rendezvous point." As the blue sky faded to the inky blackness of space, Jake allowed himself a moment of reflection. They were making history with every passing second. Back on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the mission's progress from SSETI headquarters. Her team worked tirelessly, interpreting data from both the human ships and the alien fleet. "Dr. Chen," called out one of her assistants, "we're receiving new transmissions from the Zarkonians. They've detected our launch." Sarah rushed to the console, her heart pounding. The alien message was a mix of relief and anxiety. They were overjoyed that help was coming but worried about the humans' ability to reach them in time. "Send a reply," Sarah instructed. "Tell them we're on our way and ask for constant updates on their status." As the human fleet pushed further into space, they encountered their first major challenge. The ships needed to perform a complex slingshot maneuver around Jupiter to gain the speed necessary for deep space travel. Commander Martinez's voice crackled over the intercom. "Attention all ships. We're approaching Jupiter. Prepare for gravitational assist maneuver." The giant gas planet loomed before them, its swirling storms a beautiful but deadly sight. Jake's palms were sweaty as he gripped the controls. One miscalculation here could send them hurtling into the planet's crushing atmosphere or off course into the void of space. "Initiating maneuver now," Jake announced. The ship hummed as its engines fired, guiding them into a precise trajectory around Jupiter. For several tense minutes, alarms blared as the ships were buffeted by intense gravitational forces. In the medical bay, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked frantically to stabilize crew members affected by the extreme G-forces. Finally, they emerged on the other side. Their velocity dramatically increased. A cheer went up through the fleet as they realized they'd succeeded. "Outstanding work, everyone," Jake said, relief evident in his voice. "We're now on a direct course to the Zarkonian fleet." As they journeyed deeper into the solar system, the crew settled into a routine. Scientists analyzed data about the alien biology and technology. Engineers fine-tuned the ship's systems for the rescue operation, and everyone tried to prepare mentally for their first encounter with an alien species. Weeks passed. The sun shrank behind them, becoming just another bright star in the sky. The enormity of space began to weigh on the crew's minds. During a quiet moment, Lieutenant Gonzalez approached Jake in the observation deck. "Commander, do you think we'll make it in time?" Jake stared out at the star-filled void. "We have to, Maria. An entire civilization is counting on us." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Commander, to the bridge immediately," a voice called over the intercom. Jake and Maria raced to the command center. "Report," Jake barked as he entered. The navigation officer looked up, his face pale. "Sir, we've detected a massive energy surge ahead. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." On the main screen, a swirling vortex of light appeared, growing larger by the second. "My God," whispered Jake. "What is that?" Before anyone could respond, the vortex expanded, engulfing the entire human fleet. Alarms screamed as the ships were tossed about like leaves in a storm. Crew members held on for dear life, as reality itself seemed to twist around them. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The ship stabilized, and an eerie calm descended. "Damage report," Jake called out, his ears still ringing. As his crew scrambled to assess their situation, Jake looked out the main viewport. His jaw dropped. Where moments ago there had been empty space, now a massive fleet of alien ships filled their view. They had found the Zarkonians, or rather, the Zarkonians had found them. The real challenge was about to begin. Silence filled the bridge of the HSS Hope as the human crew stared in awe at the alien fleet before them. The Zarkonian ships were massive structures of gleaming metal and pulsing energy, dwarfing the human vessels. Commander Jake Martinez swallowed hard, then spoke. "Open a channel to the alien flagship. Let's introduce ourselves." Lieutenant Gonzalez nodded, her fingers dancing over the communication panel. "Channel open." "Sir." Jake took a deep breath. "This is Commander Jake Martinez of the Earth Rescue Fleet. We've come in response to your distress call. How can we assist you?" For a moment, there was only static. Then, a deep, resonant voice filled the bridge. "Earth beings, this is Admiral Xenthor of the Zarkonian fleet. Your arrival is unexpected." The translator struggled with the alien language, but the surprise in Xenthor's voice was clear. Jake frowned. "Unexpected. But you sent a distress call. We came to help." There was a pause before Xenthor responded. "We did send a call, yes, but we never imagined. We didn't think your species capable of interstellar travel." A murmur ran through the human crew. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stepped forward. "Admiral, we weren't capable of interstellar travel. We developed the technology specifically to answer your call." This time, the silence from the Zarkonian ship was longer. When Xenthor spoke again, his voice was filled with a mix of awe and confusion. "You achieved interstellar travel. For us. A species you've never met." Jake nodded, even though he knew the alien couldn't see him. "That's right. You needed help. We couldn't ignore that." The bridge of the HSS Hope erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds. It took a moment for the humans to realize it was laughter. "Forgive us," Xenthor said, his voice warm with amusement. "It's just, in all our travels, we've never encountered a species quite like yours. You are full of surprises, humans." Over the next few hours, the human and Zarkonian crews began the complex process of coordination. Engineers from both species worked together to adapt the human technology to the alien ship's needs. Dr. Tanaka found herself in a hastily set-up laboratory on the Zarkonian flagship, working alongside alien scientists. Despite their radically different biologies, she was struck by how similar their scientific methods were. "It's fascinating," she told a Zarkonian researcher named Lorian. "Your species developed along such different lines, yet we ended up with such similar approaches to science." Lorian's crystalline form shimmered in what Yuki had learned was a sign of agreement. "Perhaps it is not our bodies that define us, but our curiosity, our drive to understand the universe." Meanwhile, Commander Martinez and Admiral Xenthor were deep in discussion about the logistics of the rescue operation. "Your fuel technology is incredible," Xenthor said, examining the specs of the human ships. "So simple, yet so efficient. How did you develop this?" Jake smiled. "Necessity is the mother of invention, as we say on Earth. We had to come up with something that could get us here quickly. Xanthor's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a gesture Jake had come to recognize as surprise. You created this technology just for this mission. Truly, your species' capabilities are remarkable. As the day wore on, the rescue operation began in earnest. Human ships docked with the Zarkonian vessels, transferring fuel, supplies, and repair materials. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans worked tirelessly, their small size belying their strength and determination. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings led to a few tense moments. At one point, a human engineer accidentally activated a Zarkonian defense system, causing a brief panic. However, these incidents only served to highlight the two species' commitment to making the partnership work. As the Earth's sun set on the first day of the rescue operation, Jake found himself in a quiet corner of the Hope, looking out at the bustling activity around the fleet. Lieutenant Gonzalez joined him. "Quite a sight, isn't it, Commander?" Jake nodded. "It sure is, Maria. You know, when we left Earth, I thought we were on a mission to save an alien species, but now I'm starting to think they might be saving us too." Maria raised an eyebrow. "How so?" Jake gestured at the scene before them. "Look at what we've accomplished in just one day. We've pushed the boundaries of our technology, made first contact with an advanced alien species, and shown that humanity can be a force for good in the universe. Whatever happens next, we'll never be the same." As if to emphasize his point, a group of human and Zarkonian engineers floated by, engrossed in an animated discussion about propulsion theories. The rescue mission was far from over, but already it was clear that this encounter would change both species forever. The universe had just gotten a lot bigger, and humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. As the rescue operation entered its second week, both humans and Zarkonians settled into a rhythm of cooperation. The initial wonder of first contact had given way to a focused determination to complete their shared mission. On the Zarkonian flagship, Dr. Yuki Tanaka hunched over a microscope, studying alien cell structures. Beside her, the crystalline form of Lorian hummed with excitement. "Extraordinary," Lorian chimed. "Your DNA and our crystal matrices are so different, yet they serve the same purpose." Yuki nodded, her eyes bright with curiosity. "It's amazing how life adapts to different environments. I wonder what other forms of life exist out there." Their scientific discussion was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed as Admiral Xanthor's voice boomed through the ship. "All hands, brace for impact. Unidentified objects approaching at high velocity." In the command center of the HSS Hope, Commander Jake Martinez sprang into action. "Status report," he barked. Lieutenant Gonzalez's fingers flew over her console. "Multiple objects detected, sir. They appear to be asteroids, but their trajectory is too perfect. They're aimed right at us." Jake's eyes widened. "It's an attack. Alert the fleet. Evasive maneuvers." The space around the combined human-Zarkonian fleet erupted into chaos. Asteroids, somehow guided with precision, hurtled towards them from all directions. The smaller, more agile human ships darted between the lumbering Zarkonian vessels, using their advanced propulsion systems to deflect the incoming projectiles. On the Zarkonian flagship, Admiral Xanthor watched in awe as the human ships performed seemingly impossible feats of navigation. "By the cosmic currents," he muttered. "How are they doing that?" Jake's voice crackled over the comm system. "Admiral, we'll handle the asteroids. Focus on protecting your civilian ships." As the battle raged, a new threat emerged. Strange, sleek ships appeared from behind the asteroid field, their designs unlike anything either humans or Zarkonians had seen before. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves," Jake demanded over an open channel. The only response was a barrage of energy weapons fire. In the lab, Yuki and Lorian clung to their workstations as the ship shuddered under the assault. "Who are they?" Yuki shouted over the noise. Lorien's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. Space pirates. They prey on stranded ships. They must have detected our distress signal. Outside, the human fleet showcased the full extent of their hastily developed technology. Ships that had been designed for rescue now proved their worth in combat. Energy shields, reverse-engineered from Zarkonian designs, flickered to life around the vulnerable alien ships. Jake's voice, strained but determined, echoed through both fleets. All ships, form up. Protect the Zarkonian civilian vessels at all costs. What followed was a dance of death and heroism. Human ships, vastly outgunned but incredibly nimble, darted between the pirate vessels. They used the asteroids as cover, even managing to redirect some towards their attackers. The Zarkonians, inspired by human bravery, began to rally. Their massive ships, once helpless, now served as floating fortresses, providing cover for the smaller human vessels. In the thick of the battle, Jake noticed something odd. The pirates. They're not trying to destroy us. They're hurting us. Xanthor's voice crackled over the comm. Confirmed, Commander. They're pushing us towards a nearby gas giant. Its gravity well could trap us. Jake's mind raced. Then, a daring plan formed. Admiral, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might be our only chance. He quickly outlined his plan. The Zarkonians would use their remaining power to create a massive energy pulse, while the human ships would use their maneuvering thrusters in perfect sync to ride the shockwave. If we time it right, Jake explained, we can use the pulse to push the pirates into the gas giant's gravity well instead. Xanthor was silent for a moment. It's audacious, Commander. The kind of plan only your species would conceive. Let's do it. What followed was a feat of coordination that would be remembered in the annals of both species for generations. At Jake's signal, the Zarkonian ships released a blinding pulse of energy. Simultaneously, every human vessel fired its thrusters. The resulting shockwave caught the pirate fleet completely off guard. Unable to react in time, they were swept towards the gas giant, their ships tumbling helplessly into its crushing atmosphere. As the last pirate ship disappeared from their sensors, a cheer went up across both fleets. Human and Zarkonian crews celebrated together, marveling at what they had accomplished. In the aftermath, Jake and Xanthor met on the bridge of the Zarkonian flagship. The alien admiral's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of deep emotion. Commander Martinez, Xanthor said solemnly, you and your crew have saved us not once, but twice now. We owe you a debt we can never repay. Jake smiled, extending his hand in the human gesture of friendship. There's no debt between friends, Admiral. We're in this together now. As Xanthor grasped Jake's hand with his tentacle, both leaders knew that this was more than just a rescue mission now. It was the beginning of a friendship that would change the galaxy forever. The journey back to Earth was filled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The human fleet, now accompanied by the massive Zarkonian ships, made its way through the solar system. As they approached the blue planet, both species felt the weight of the moment. Commander Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the HSS Hope, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. Admiral Xanthor's holographic form flickered beside him. Your world is beautiful, Commander, Xanthor said, his 4 eyes blinking in appreciation. Jake nodded, a lump in his throat. It sure is, Admiral. And now, it's about to change forever. As the fleet entered Earth's orbit, the planet below erupted in excitement. News of the successful mission and the arrival of the Zarkonians had spread like wildfire. Cities around the globe held celebrations, and millions gathered to watch the sky. In New York, Paris, Tokyo, and countless other cities, people cheered as the alien ships became visible, their massive forms blocking out the sun for brief moments. At the United Nations headquarters, world leaders gathered for an unprecedented meeting. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful as they prepared to welcome humanity's first alien allies. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had coordinated the mission from Earth, found herself in the unusual position of introducing Admiral Xenfor to the UN General Assembly. As the alien leader's holographic form appeared before the world's representatives, a hush fell over the room. Xenfor's deep voice resonated through the hall. "People of Earth, we come before you today, not as conquerors or mere visitors, but as friends in need who found salvation in your incredible kindness and bravery." He went on to recount the rescue mission, praising humanity's ingenuity and selflessness. As he spoke, many in the audience were moved to tears, realizing the full impact of what their species had accomplished. Meanwhile, at space agencies around the world, scientists and engineers worked frantically to adapt Earth's infrastructure to accommodate the Zarkonian ships. The challenge was immense, but the spirit of cooperation that had defined the rescue mission continued to drive them forward. As days turned into weeks, the Zarkonians began to integrate into Earth's society. Cultural exchange programs were established, and humans eagerly learned about alien art, music, and philosophy. In return, the Zarkonians found themselves captivated by human creativity and emotion. Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her Zarkonian colleague Lorian led a joint scientific task force, combining their knowledge to make breakthroughs in medicine, technology, and our understanding of the universe. Their work promised to revolutionize everything from space travel to curing diseases. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Some humans feared the changes the aliens brought, while some Zarkonians struggled to adapt to Earth's environment. Protests and minor conflicts broke out in several cities. In response, Commander Martinez and Admiral Xenfor embarked on a global tour, sharing their experiences and the story of their unlikely friendship. Their message of unity and cooperation resonated with millions, helping to ease tensions and build bridges between the two species. 6 months after the Zarkonians' arrival, a historic ceremony was held at the newly constructed Earth-Zarkon Cooperation Center. Leaders from both species gathered to sign the Galactic Cooperation Treaty, officially marking Earth's entry into the wider galactic community. As Jake watched the signing ceremony, Lieutenant Gonzalez approached him. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this when we first launched, Commander?" Jake shook his head, smiling. "Never in my wildest dreams, Maria. We went out to save a stranded alien fleet, and we ended up changing the course of human history." Just then, a commotion near the main doors caught their attention. A group of Zarkonian children, part of the first cultural exchange program, was excitedly chatting with human kids their age. Despite their vastly different appearances, the children laughed and played together, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You know," Jake said, his voice thick with emotion, "I think that right there is the real victory. That's the future we fought for." As the ceremony concluded, fireworks lit up the sky, their colors mingling with the bioluminescent displays put on by the Zarkonian ships in orbit. It was a celebration of not just two species, but of the limitless potential of cooperation and understanding. Earth had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and humanity had proven itself worthy of the challenges ahead. The rescue of a stranded alien fleet had turned into something much greater, the beginning of a new era for both species, filled with promise, adventure, and hope. As Jake looked up at the stars, now filled with new meaning and possibility, he couldn't help but smile. The greatest adventure in human history wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun.